You know, I was thinking yesterday, bro.
What, bro?
You know what a humidifier is?
Yeah.
And then do you know what a dehumidifier is?
Yeah, I do know.
So in theory, a humidifier humidifies the room or the air or something.
Yeah.
And a dehumidifier does the opposite.
Right.
What if you have two, one in one corner and the other one in the other corner? Are you technically transferring water wirelessly from one end of the room to the other end of the room?
Can I ask you a serious question, bro?
Yeah.
Did you think of this?
Did I? You see, someone else thought of this.
Right. But you thought about them thinking about it.
But then when they thought about it, I'm like, shit, I'm also thinking about it now.
Where'd you find this, bro?
Bro, I'm telling you, get TikTok, man.
No, I'm good. But that is interesting concept. Transferring water
Wirelessly.
I mean, it would be cool if that water was then drinkable. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
That would be pretty
I
cool.
don't think it is.
I mean, there are some things that like generate water out of the air. You know?
No, yeah, there are some machines that
drinkable water.
Yeah, drinkable water.
Yeah. I remember seeing one of them. I was kind of amazed by it. You know?
Isn't there like a fridge that does the same? Where like
Yeah, my fridge.
Oh, your fridge, nice.
Samsung LG S Plus.
Samsung LGBTQ plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one, bro. Shout out, bro. We support. Hey, bro, what are we gonna talk about today, man?
Technically, we should have talked about this, I guess, last podcast as well. But I guess we were a bit scared of.
The IDF coming.
Yeah.
And arresting me.
But now it's like it's gotten to the point where like it's impossible not to talk about, bro. We just have
so much has happened. Yeah, like back when we recorded, when was it? Last Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like the first day of conflict.
Yeah.
And now it's like the conflict is supposedly finished.
It's like
good news.
Is it?
It took 11 days. Yeah, there's a ceasefire, but we'll get into it.
Right. But I mean, I guess today it's your job to like try and describe the history of like what happened, so like our audience can also like kind of, for those who don't already know, can like maybe gauge into what actually happened in the past and not just look at what's happening now, like some people and think that.
Yeah, I mean, dude, first of all, like Yayo told me, hey, before you talk, make sure you got your context right.
Right.
And I was like, I mean, first of all, good point. You do need to know context, but the problem is the more context you add, the less favorable it is to Israel. More so. And second of all, I thought, okay, why not? Because I do know a lot about the context. This is something that I've studied more than almost anything, I would say. Right. So, yeah, and I've been there myself. I've talked to the people. I've done interviews, you know.
So you're trying to say that you were into this conflict before it was actually cool?
Yeah, but also it's been cool for many generations. You know, we're not the first.
True.
You know, it's like almost 100 years. More, actually. So, yeah, I mean, I want to talk about it. We can go through the whole history. I'm going to try and speed run it. So, yeah, right. You short attention span motherfuckers out there. And Eloy.
I mean, bro, I can't lie. The only reason that I'm going to be paying attention to it is because like you're literally in front of me telling me this stuff. Otherwise,
yeah, I will, bro. But I'm going to try and do it fast. And then I have quite a few things I want to say about the situation today, which I think is more interesting, of course.
But do you want to maybe address some stuff that maybe we should address about, like some stuff that also Yayo thought about, and maybe other people also think the same way as Yayo, and like in no way is this a diss to Yayo or like people like Yayo, but
but I mean it's understandable because I mean, first of all atrocities have had allies, you know, throughout history, and second of all, the propaganda is really strong, and not only the propaganda but just the commentary and the justification is like always there in the forefront. And
there's always going to be like biased news or like biased media out there that's going to try and like say the opposite of what's actually happening.
Yeah, of course. And a lot of projection as well. Like, it's like, no, we're not the ones doing it. You're the ones doing it. You know, where they take some accusations and they just flip it on its head.
Yeah.
But other than that, are we going to talk about something else today, Neely?
We are going to talk about something that's very important to Mattis's heart, at least. Eminem.
My childhood, bro.
His childhood, Eminem.
Eminem is my second father, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, you know, when most Danish kids turn like what, 10? They're like so old already at the age that they start listening to Mozart.
Right.
Eminem Mattis did the opposite. He started listening to Eminem instead of Mozart.
Right, because when I moved out at 10, and I had my second job. Yeah,
already third house as well.
Yeah,
fourth
third
Lamborghini.
country, fourth continent. actually.
You own four continents.
No, I was in 4 continents at once. You know, you gotta diversify your assets.
All right, of course.
So yeah, I was just kind of spread out, you know, as a
Raw.
responsible adult.
Shit. So you were like thinking of this stuff like way before.
Yeah, of course. And the one who helped me through it was Eminem.
True. All right.
You know, when my kids were looking at me like, "What are we gonna eat today?"
True.
I said, "Don't you worry. I invested in Dogecoin." Go listen to Eminem, Mockingbird. I'ma buy you one. You know.
True.
All that good stuff.
But I mean, I guess we'll get into Eminem a bit later because I have my beef with Eminem.
Okay, yeah. So you don't like him or something?
I mean,
Well, we'll get into it.
It's not that I don't like him. It's just we'll get him to it later. You know.
Yeah. But yeah. So basically, Palestine and Eminem.
Yeah.
That's the whole story.
That's like we could have just made this like entire podcast like just Palestine, but for some reason we also had to have like the Eminem. I guess
No, I mean, we usually have more than one topic, and this is probably going to be a heavier, longer one. But I doubt it's going to be like an hour. You know.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's an hour, then it's probably just going to be me rambling and Eli sleeping.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The idea of like when you came up to me and it's like, "Yo, we should like probably do the history of Palestine." I'm like, that's actually such a good idea. But also, I don't like even in person. I don't think I would have the attention span. I just like space out or something.
All right, bro. But look, if you don't understand something, just ask, man.
Okay, fair enough.
It's that simple, you know.
Because I'll be your typical average, let's say, viewer that doesn't know anything.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some stuff in here that I think is like important for everyone to know, and maybe later on I'll get into some things that like, if you're a 5-head political news reader or whatever, and you're trying to put together what's going on a more complex level, there's some interesting points about the situation today.
So basically, you've been watching a lot of Hassan on Twitch.
Yeah, I've been watching Hassan, but I've been watching a lot of other guys, dude. Hassan is one of my newest people I put into my arsenal, man.
So you watched one summary by Hassan, and you're like, okay, we got to do this on the podcast. Let's go.
Nah, bro. As I said, man, I wrote my EE on this 4,000 word extended essay.
You did.
I went there. I did my interviews. Like, I've been paying attention to this since I was 10.
That's nice.
Like,
so like you actually have like a deeper connection with this topic than most people.
No, that's why, dude. Like, yeah, I really suffered these 11 days to be like honest with you. Of course, nothing like Palestinians are, but just because I know the faces, I've shook the hands of Palestinians. I've not held their children. Sorry, I've seen their children, played with them. You know, I've seen their houses. I've been in their houses. I've eaten with them.
Damn.
And it's their lives are pretty much in danger, and they can be taken away at any point with no repercussion. And when you start seeing that happening on the news at a mass scale, I don't know, at least for me, it really hits me,
No, but like mad respect, because like not a lot of people can say that they've actually been to Palestine or like the source of what's happening right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, most of the people just posting on Insta,
I mean, in all fairness though, like let's bring up this point. It's like, what does posting actually do, right?
So normal circumstances, not too much. But here's the thing, right? Is that there's a lot of censorship about what's going on. You don't necessarily see it. And many people nowadays are seeing it on the mainstream news. But in this whole conflict that started in 1917, since then, it's been very limited, the amount of coverage and photos you see from the atrocities that are happening. So the fact that we're just able to spread it on social media and it can't be censored is on its own forcing a little change in the narrative, because you can no longer hide the brutality of death and what the Palestinians go through,
And like spreading this news online is like a very powerful way of like actually showing like what's happening, or like raising awareness in general. It's something, because let's say me, right? I per se didn't know much about this conflict. I knew it was happening. I knew like all these things about like Free Palestine and stuff.
Right.
But when it gets to like the deeper stuff of like what's actually happening in there and like why these conflicts start, or like who starts all this stuff, or like what's propaganda, what's not, I would have never guessed. Like I would have never known, or like I would have never actually gone and read up on all of these things, if not for all these people that are posting these stories on Instagram saying what's happening right now.
True, and also, yeah. So that gets to my point. So in this case, it is actually kind of helpful, and also this is something that we can directly change with our vote. I mean, there's political parties out there that are unforgiving in their support for Israel, no matter what. And the United States has a long-term policy of denying that any of their aid has conditions on it that say that Israel must abide to human rights. Just that. And even specifically, a bill was being proposed that said that any money we give to Israel must not be used to counter the human rights, or not counter, what's it called, to violate the human rights of Palestinian children.
Right.
And that was shot down in Congress. So the U.S. said, no, it has to be unconditional. Even they're even allowed to, violate the human rights of children. We don't want to put that condition on the table.
Wow.
And we have the same type of rhetoric in Europe. So this is something where the individual opinions of each individual person actually does make a difference, because the way you vote can directly influence this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where the money goes. So we have parties that are completely unapologetic for the support for Israel and any crimes they commit. And then you also have ones that say we should not support Israel because they're an apartheid state and so on.
Right.
So you can actually, if you can change the minds of people
Mm-hmm.
and make them see both sides, then you actually, you can change something, because the vote actually matters,
Was it, tell me if I'm wrong here, but was it America that sent aid to Israel or something? Like they sent something to Israel at some point.
Yeah, just a few days ago, bro.
What was it that they sent?
So the day after that, Israel bombed the Al Jazeera and Associate Press news building. According to the IDF, they had there was Hamas in there, but they've been saying that about everything. And they offered no evidence, by the way. There's no public evidence of this. And they said they sent private evidence to the U.S. And the U.S. Secretary of State said we didn't receive anything.
Right.
So far we know there's no evidence. And the day after that, the U.S. sent $715 million in an arms deal to Israel.
God damn, bro.
Sorry, not an arms deal, just an arms giveaway.
Yeah.
You have the weapons, dude. So Joe Biden is a piece of shit on this front.
And did he see why he did it?
No, but I mean they've been doing this forever. Even Obama gave one of the biggest giveaways.
Wow.
He gave I think it was like 1.3 billion, and it was recurring yearly payments
But
for
why
the Israeli military. Why?
Yeah.
Oh, because they're their allies, and they do have a legitimate threat, which is Hamas, and also some of their neighbors. I mean, Hamas did fire thousands of rockets this time, into Israel, and that would have caused a lot of death if it wasn't for the Iron Dome.
But also for some people that may not know who are Hamas.
Okay, wait. Let me do the whole history, right?
Okay, go on.
Because now we're just getting into it,
Yeah.
Because that's part of my explanation. All right.
Where do we begin?
We begin in 1917, right?
I wasn't even born then, bro.
No, it's a long time ago, bro.
Maybe you were alive back then, because you are the biggest boomer that I know.
Hey, calm down, bro.
Okay, maybe not you, maybe Patrick, because he's the second biggest boomer.
No, Patrick was alive back then. I was born a little bit after, actually.
Oh, right.
I remember.
Patrick was there when the history was being written, right?
Yeah.
He's that old.
He probably issued the Balfour Declaration.
Damn.
He's probably the one who wrote it.
He's that old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nah, but basically the Balfour Declaration was a declaration by the British state that the Jews should have their own, should form their own country,
right?
And that they should move into what they called Palestine at the time, right? And they could start building settlements there and creating their own thing. And this is the what's called the Project of Zion, which is the root word for Zionism. And Zionism is the belief that the Jews should return to Jerusalem and the areas around it,
right,
and make their own Jewish state. So the ideology in itself is inherently exclusive to Jews only, because you cannot have a Jewish state that isn't Jewish, right? So it is an ethno state.
All right, let me ask you this as well, right?
Yeah, right.
What is Jerusalem, or what does Jerusalem mean to most people?
So Jerusalem
Why is it so important?
is a big city that's located in the middle of Israel/Palestine. And it's obviously very old. It has Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the third holy site for Muslims. It has the old walls of the Jewish temple, which I don't remember the name of, but that's the holiest site for the Jews. And it also has a lot of really holy sites for Christians, because Jesus was born in Bethlehem and he died in Jerusalem, I believe.
Right.
That might be completely wrong, but something like that.
I mean, I have no clue either.
But I know for sure. I mean, I went to Bethlehem and I was in the supposed crib where Jesus himself was born,
Isn't it also around that area where people try and convince you that they have pieces of the cross and they try and sell it to you?
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, you walk the path that Jesus walked himself, and there's places where he put his hand, and those are little shrines and stuff.
Right. So basically, Jerusalem is this very holy place for not only the Jews but also the Muslims and Christians.
Yeah, because coincidentally, these three religions are very intertwined, and some would say at some point they were almost the same.
Right.
And then there's divisions, which I used to know a lot about, but I don't want to get into it because I'm probably going to make some mistakes.
All right, let's just,
Yeah, so that's Jerusalem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Jews want to go back to Jerusalem because the Zionist project, part of its ideology, part of its justification is that it is said that God will rise when the Jews have Jerusalem for them. The Messiah will come back.
Right.
And there's another faction of Judaism. So there's two interpretations. One, that the Jews need to occupy Jerusalem first, and then Messiah will come back. And the other one, that Messiah will come back, and then the Jews will be awarded Jerusalem. So there's even inside of the Jewish community a big dispute about the whole idea of Zionism. So in 1917, the Zionist movement started picking up speed that said, fuck this, we're not going to wait for the Messiah. We've been waiting for 2,000 years.
We're just going to go and take it for ourselves.
Yeah, and then the Messiah will come. So they kind of flipped it and said...
Did the Messiah come?
No, clearly not. It's just been violent since then, you know. So then what happened is, then there was World War II between 1939 and 45, which I think everybody knows about. So the Jews went through horrendous persecution and genocide, which really picked up the steam on this whole Zionist project because people were just fleeing. And they didn't trust anyone in Europe because a little known fact, or something that's not discussed very much, it is a known fact, is that when World War II was going on, nobody gave a fuck about the Jews.
Right.
You know, we didn't go, like the Europeans did not go against the Germans because they cared about the Jews. It was because they invaded Poland.
But at this point of World War II, was Israel still a thing or no?
No. It was not a country yet, but it had started already since 1917.
And so where were the Jews back then? Like, were they spread out around the world?
Spread out around the world, yeah.
Okay.
Because the Jews also originated from Jerusalem is a big argument.
Right. But do we know if it's true?
Yeah, the religion did, and they were kicked out a certain time by the Romans. But a big part of the propaganda nowadays is that the Ottomans kicked them out. So that the Muslims kicked them out, and that's why they have the right to kick the Muslims out again.
Right.
But it was actually the Romans, and the Romans were also the ones in the whole story with Jesus and everything. So...
But I mean, don't get me wrong, but just because someone kicked them out in the past doesn't make it right for them to be
it
able
was
to kick
2,000 years ago, bro. Do you know how many people have been kicked out and moved around?
It's
2,000 years ago.
If you go by the laws of the back then, bro, anything can happen right now, bro.
Yeah, fuck it. Italy takes all of Europe, you know, because of the Roman Empire. But so World War II, the reason why, like when World War II ended, the Jews didn't feel safe in any other European country, right? Because those European countries also had immense amounts of anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
And were completely tolerant of the persecution that the Jews were going through in Germany until the last possible moment, you know?
I mean, was it every European country that was like...
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, anti-Semitism was really strong in Europe.
Right.
And yeah, people didn't really mind. And that's why, like, for example, Italy just went perfectly along with it. They're like, oh, a new ally? Except that, you know, oh, he also wants to exterminate and kill all the Jews. I mean, I guess that's fair, you know, was the mentality of...
Yeah, back then.
Even the Italians, yeah. That's why it wasn't really controversial in that much of a sense. What was controversial was he started expanding his territories, and then Europe felt threatened, and that's when we went to war. And also when the Soviet Union freed the Jews, many of them were just put on a new administration under almost the same, like very close conditions, you know?
Right.
So that's why this thing really started picking up steam. And then you fast forward a bit, and now it's 1948. And the Jews declare their own state.
Right.
They make their own country, and they take almost half of Palestine, and they start a war. I mean, to be fair, you can't say that they started it. It's kind of like half who started it.
So in 1948, Israel just goes to what, Jerusalem, or like what it used to, was it known as Palestine back then, or what was it?
Yeah, it was still known as Palestine. And in 1948, you have the Nakba/war. So the Palestinians call it Nakba, which means catastrophe in Arabic.
Right.
And then you have a war which basically they went to conquer as much land as possible and to kick as many Palestinians out of their homes. And the Palestinians went to try to kick the Jews out of all of Palestine.
Right.
So both sides are kind of in the wrong here, except one of them were living there before and felt threatened and were being kicked out and displaced constantly, you know? Because prior to this war, they were already being kicked out of their homes and things like that.
Who was being kicked out prior to this?
The Palestinians.
Right. By who?
By the Jewish communities.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to start calling them Israelis at this point.
Okay.
Because not all Jews are Israelis, obviously.
By the Nakba or the war time I'm guessing they formed Israel.
Yeah, exactly. At 1948, which is Nakba and the war, the first war is when Israel was formed as well.
Right.
And in that formation, that's the whole war process, and the Nakba process, because to form their own state, they kicked out all these people. And also a big part of it is they immediately burnt down, destroyed all the villages of the Palestinians, or they put new Israeli inhabitants in there so that the people could never come back, you know? That was really deliberate, let's say, from day one. And they went as far to take, they took a lot, actually. So they even took West Jerusalem, which if you have a map of it, which I don't think you do in your head.
No, I don't.
But that's quite deep in, let's say, you know?
Yeah.
And at this point, they had West Jerusalem. Now, East Jerusalem and what's called the West Bank, which is actually in the eastern part of Israel and Palestine.
Right.
Was controlled by Jordan, because they came in and kind of were part of the war, basically on the behalf of the Palestinians. And then you had Egypt take over what's called Gaza.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And now you have like the beginning of the split between the West Bank and Gaza. And the West Bank is where Jerusalem is, by the way. So that is 1948. A lot of Palestinians get displaced. There's a war. The war was started a little iffy. It's hard to know who exactly started it, but there was a lot of displacement of Palestinians and terrorism for them.
Right.
But there was also counterterrorism, so like Palestinians breaking Jewish shops and doing despicable things the other way around.
But what did the Palestinians like? Where did they go when the Israelis came in?
So they fled to the rest of Palestine, right?
Right.
Or even further if they could, into Jordan and further. So that was 1948. Then, okay, let me make sure I got my facts straight. Yeah, so now you have Israel says Palestine divided in two. You have Israel, which takes one part, and the other part is ruled by Jordan and Egypt.
Okay.
For the Palestinians. Now, 1967. No, it's kind of quiet until then. And in 1967, you have a big Arab independence movement coming up in the region, but also in Palestine. And in 1967, you have the 6-day war, as it's called. So it was meant to be longer, and the Arabs thought they could win. But at this point, the Israeli military was already so strong that they completely wiped them out in 6 days.
Wait, so in 1967, was it the Palestinians or who started this war again?
Again, it's a bit iffy.
Yeah.
Officially, the Arabs started it.
Right.
And when I say the Arabs, not only Palestinians, because there was a lot of countries around Israel
that maybe
Arabic
wanted
countries.
Palestine to have their country back.
Yeah, and went in and together it was like 6 countries, I believe, 6 or something like that.
And they lost.
They lost like overwhelmingly, because Israel was like hyper militaristic already at this point, because they knew the threat was there. Mm-hmm. They had just stolen and committed atrocities. Like in 1948, one of the stories that you hear is like they went into a village and they lined all the men up, and behind the men they lined all the women up, and then they shot all the men in front of the women. And that was to give the women a message that you will flee now and you will never come back, because this will happen to you. Damn. And also to commit genocide and kill a lot of the men. So in 1967, they fought back and the Israelis were ready, because I think they knew that something was going to happen at some point. Right?
But in 1967, were they already getting help from, let's say, their ally countries?
Yeah, for sure. They were already getting help from the US, from France, and from the UK. And they already had like a really strong military, which was proven to be true during this 1967 war. As I said, they wiped them out in 6 days.
But you said, why was the reason that all these other countries allied with Israel in the first place? Well, like, what was the reason behind it?
Because colonialism was still pretty popular.
Okay.
And also, like, there's a lot of guilt in Europe still to this day for what we did to the Jews.
Yeah.
And not only the Germans who were the ones committing the atrocities, but how everyone else, we could have avoided it if we weren't, because like before Hitler became this obviously horrible thing, he was taking a bunch of steps to get to that place, and every single step he took, Europeans kind of just closed their eyes and looked the other way, or they condemned him loosely,
So in a way, the Europeans also kind of felt bad, so they felt as if what Israel was doing was kind of okay in a sense, because. Or they felt like as if they could get away with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And here starts in 1967. It's really interesting because here comes the first time that you see a very clear unfolding of a narrative, which is the self-defense of Israel narrative. Because as I said, the Arab countries were the ones who attacked officially, who started the war. And then everyone sides with Israel because they have the right to defend themselves, obviously. And in this defense, they completely roll over the enemy. And then not only do they defend themselves, they immediately expand while supposedly defend themselves. Do you understand?
Okay.
So they take all of Palestine, everything that's left, and even more. They take a big chunk of Syria and Jordan, and they take a massive chunk of Egypt as well.
Okay.
So, in this defense, they go completely offensive.
So instead of like just defending themselves, they go ahead and like get way more than what they wanted to do in the first place.
They use it effectively as an excuse to conquer land, right? Now,
but obviously, when they conquered this land, they also, I'm assuming, they killed a bunch of people that were in those places.
Yeah, and a lot of civilians. And also, what they do most of all is take over property, just land, and then the houses on that land, and they put Jewish people in there, Israeli people in there,
right?
So that they can then claim that as part of Israel and create like a settler colonial situation, right? So in 1967, luckily Israel gave back everything they conquered, so from Jordan, Syria, and Egypt, except for Palestine. They kept all of it.
They're like, no, this is ours. We're gonna keep it. You're not gonna have it, no matter what happens.
Exactly. And now it's not officially part of Israel because the UN is already stepping in and screaming against Israel.
Right.
But what they do is they keep it under military occupation. So occupation means that you own it. Basically. So that's why I say it's part of Israel.
Yeah.
Right. And something I should say throughout all this history, by the way, is that at every point and every step of the way, there's like a new UN resolution trying to tell Israel to step back and like hold back their original boundaries and stop taking more land. And every step of the way, it's completely irrelevant.
But here's also like a narrative that the Israelis give is that in the past, were like they still to this day, apparently Israel offered Palestine bits of their land back.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a narrative that like they're trying to say or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not
for
really
example,
the whole story.
For example, in 1948, they tried to offer some of it back, and they denied it because it's insane to think that you're supposed to accept a deal where you get half of your original property that they had no right to steal in the first place. And then in 1967, I don't know the specifics on the 1948 deal. But I do know the specifics of the 1967 deal. So after the 6-Day War, they offered a deal where Israel would, conveniently have a little bit over half of all the land. They would take all the most fertile land and all the places that happen to have the most natural resources like water, which is really important in that region. And the Palestinians would be left with less than half, and they would be divided into two sections: Gaza on the west and the West Bank on the east.
You see, this is where I'd say that this no longer becomes something about religion or like the Jewish wanting their land back or something like that, or the Muslims wanting their land because it's like Jerusalem and everything. Here, I just say it's because if it was truly about religion, they'd like find peace with each other. I think 100%.
I mean, religion, as we've seen it many times throughout history, is just it's an excuse to it's a means to an end or whatever. I messed up the saying, but it's just an excuse for achieving your other objectives, right? Yeah. Which for Israel was to get more land.
And this is actually very sad because it actually takes away from what religion actually is or what the religion actually stands for. And it really sucks for both ends, not just the Jews' end, but also the Islam.
Sure. And by the way, here's the first time that you see something interesting about the Israeli economy, which is often brought up as a defense point for some reason. That look how amazing and beautiful Israel is and how like an economic miracle it is. Well, listen, it's pretty easy to have an economic miracle when all the land you're grabbing is for free, and then you're stealing land and then you're reselling it to somebody else. Many times American Jews who are coming in, or real estate agents from America and Europe. It's free land and then you sell it.
It's not that hard to like.
It's not that hard to make money. And also, do you know how easy it is to make a business when you don't have to pay rent? You just get free land.
It's like, oh, here's this multimillionaire company. Just run it for me. Like what the? Yeah, it's so easy.
Yeah, I mean, like if I've looked at starting a company. One of the biggest expenses is obviously going to be real estate, and if you get that for free because you're able to steal it,
It's like half the work is already done for you.
Yeah, exactly.
More than half, I'd say, because
Yeah.
that's like the toughest bit is
Yeah.
actually having a place.
And on top of that, they receive an insane amount of money in just economic support and military support. So they don't have to pay for their own military that much
Yeah.
because they receive so much money for it. And they also just get free money from like all types of sources.
But they're also just getting aid from like all these other countries.
Exactly.
that
Like,
are-
yeah, aid, sorry, which is also free money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really think that if you gave the Palestinians the same deal, they would have become just as big of a nation, you know? And also before the Israel was created, I mean, Palestine was a really flourishing nation. It really was. And it was full of people. So, yeah, I think that's kind of a bullshit argument. But anyways, let's say, where are we? 1967?
In
The
1967.
deal gets rejected because the Palestinians are like, what the fuck? You can't offer us less than half of what we originally had for no reason, just because you won the war.
Yeah.
And the UN is on our side.
And I mean,
Yes.
rightfully so for them not accepting, you know, like,
Yeah.
would you accept if somebody came to your house, took it over, and they're like, here, you can have this tiny little storeroom for yourself?
No, I wouldn't.
Right?
No, I wouldn't. And the UN actually did side. Sorry, the UN sided with the 1967 deal, and not only sided with it, they said this is now international law and it was approved.
Damn.
So the 1967 borders are very important to this day because that is the last time that we've had like a concrete map of what is supposed to be Palestine, what is supposed to be Israel, right?
Right.
And since then, like every single day, Israel has just been slowly creeping and expanding more and more and just taking more and more land. Okay, so then we get to 1987 to 1991. And since 1967, they've been under occupation, the Palestinians, military occupation. And you have the first Intifada,
What's that?
which is it's like a Palestinian uprising.
Okay.
And this is half violent, half peaceful.
Okay.
And the Palestinians have this like very infamous protest method, which is throwing rocks. And part of it is because they have no military.
Yeah. I mean, as funny as it may be, it's...
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so it's like their last form of resistance. And a lot of them actually argue that it's peaceful resistance because they're throwing rocks at tanks and a heavily armed military, right?
I mean, I can just picture it in my head, people throwing rocks at tanks.
Yeah. I mean, no, there's a picture of a little kid who throws a rock
Yeah.
at a tank from the first Intifada, which is really popular. But like, yeah, so there's kind of a peaceful-ish resistance, a lot of protest, but also a lot of rioting, and also a violent resistance of Yasser Arafat, who was a big resistance fighter of the time.
Right.
And he's the one who really popularized the scarf that you see all the Palestinians wearing, the black and white scarf. Is it called a scarf? What's the right name for it? I always call it a scarf.
I just call it a scarf as well. Yeah, I mean,
All right.
you wear it around the neck and the head, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it
It's
would
a
just be a scarf. It wouldn't be a towel.
No, but you see in a
No.
lot of Arabic nations, so
Yeah.
I thought maybe it had a name. It
No.
probably does, but
It probably has a name, but I'm just ignorant, you know?
yeah, that's fine, man. Right, so that's the first Intifada, and that ends in 91. And soon after, we finally have a little bit of hope for peace, where there's something called the Oslo Accords, which essentially was a peace process where both sides decided to lay down their arms, particularly Yasser Arafat, who I just talked about, and try to negotiate a way to form two states, right? A two-state solution, according to the 1967 lines. The West Bank and Gaza to the Palestinians and the rest to Israel.
Right.
And now they both sign it, but the plan that they sign is not like a determinative plan. It's like it's basically a promise that we're gonna keep doing this until we achieve our goals, which is the two-state solution according to 1967 lines.
Right.
So it's more of a first step act, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Right? You still needed to sign like 2 or 3 other accords to actually get there. And apart from just dividing the land in two, Palestine would have its own state for the first time, because throughout this whole time, Palestine has never had a state, but Israel has. The water and resources like that would be split in two, so that they would be equally divided. And unfortunately, Israel would still get all of the sea, except for a tiny strip of land, which is now Gaza, right?
Yeah.
So you can see, even like, not only do they have more than half, they also just always get like the more advantageous parts, you know?
Yeah.
And Jerusalem would not be split in two. Sorry, Jerusalem would be neither Israel nor Palestine. It would be an internationally monitored zone.
That does not sound like a bad idea, you know.
Yeah, it would be under
at the
UN.
time it would have okay, UN.
Yeah,
bit, but
so like so basically Jerusalem would be neither's, and this would be because Israel always wanted Jerusalem as their capital, and the Palestinians wanted West Jerusalem as their capital, right?
But in a way, saying that it belongs to neither of you would have kind of been a good solution in the sense that either
East Jerusalem, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say because it sounds like a good solution in a way because if neither of them have it, neither of them can be jealous of each other or can blame each other that you stole my land.
And they could both coexist.
Yeah.
Because neither one of them would have the power to kick out the other.
Yeah, and they could like still just go and visit it every now and then for like the holy purposes as they would have intended to in the first place.
Right. So here's what happens. The Prime Minister of Israel, who's negotiating these talks, gets assassinated by a right-wing Israeli extremist group who explicitly said it was because he was negotiating with the Palestinians.
Wow.
So the right wing assassinate this guy, and the next president who comes in is Netanyahu.
Yeah.
Who's basically been there since. There was a few intermediate presidents, but I think it's because there was a power vacuum and they couldn't form a government. So the next guy who comes there is Netanyahu, who's a far-right extremist. Worse than Trump.
But like, dude, how shitty is it that when you're so far down or like so brainwashed to the point where like you don't believe anyone's words, not even like your current president's words, where you have to go to the point of like just murdering him and taking over yourself. But
this brings a big point that I want to say is because, I mean, the internal discussion inside of Israel is very openly genocidal and an anti-two-state solution, and it's very openly we want one state and it's all going to be Israel. And the discussion is whether they should kick out the Palestinians, keep them as a permanent underclass, so as an apartheid rule, or just kill them, you know? And it's very open, dude. You have mayors and people in the government and parties who are very open about it. And the last time somebody tried to actually negotiate a two-state solution, he was shot dead.
Damn, bro.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, and the international coverage is always like, never shows that. It's always like, well, there's supposed to be a two-state solution and there's a peace process and we're working towards it, but the Arabs are shooting missiles.
Dude,
or rockets.
This is fucked up, bro.
Yeah. But like, I want to emphasize this point because anyone who lives inside of Israel knows this because it's very open. The press, the Hebrew press and the politicians inside of Israel are very openly fuck all Palestinians. We're going to take all their land and it's all going to be Israel. There's even like very common ideas of that they're going to take away Al-Aqsa Mosque and rebuild the Jewish temple on top of it.
Damn.
You know?
Yeah.
And they're openly like, yeah, we need to evict as many of them as possible and live in their place. And we're expanding settlements so that we can permanently kick out the Palestinians.
Yeah.
And that's just like not represented in the international media. There's like this huge filter.
But is not represented because the Israelis make it so hard for the news to go out of Israel? No?
No.
It's just people neglecting the fact to report it.
Because it's really hard to admit that your number one ally is openly genocidal.
Yeah.
You know?
Shit.
And it's really hard to look at that. And people would rather believe that what the UN has been trying to put together is what's actually going on.
Yeah.
But it's never once been what's going on. And it died when they shot the Israeli prime minister.
Because, I mean, when you have like more countries backing one country, it's who are you more likely to believe? That one country that's trying to fight back or like all these other countries that are in agreement with each other?
Yeah, know? And also like Europe has always been colonial, you know?
Yeah.
Or not always, but like at least, well, actually pretty much always.
Like,
and the Americas, the way that they got their country was by exterminating the local population, you know?
Yeah.
And just pushing them out. And they had a lot of the same ideas of like offering them ridiculous peace agreements where they got to keep a tiny bit of land and then it would build walls around that land. And then when they shot an arrow back, they would shoot them, you know? That's kind of like, so America obviously was like, yeah, this makes perfect sense. This is how we did it, you know, go ahead. So yeah, the Oslo Accords never came to be. Instead, what happened is that Israel maintained complete military occupation of all of Palestine.
Right.
They continued expanding settlements, and settlements are the biggest problems here, because settlements are many cities and towns that are set up inside of Palestinian territory on stolen land, and have walls around them that makes it so that Palestinians can't go in. And if you go in, the Israeli military is there waiting for you, and they have the right to shoot you. And if they shoot you, they don't persecute their own people, obviously. And connecting all the settlements are roads that are built again on stolen Palestinian lands that Palestinians are not even allowed to access.
Have you seen all these things when you went?
Yeah, of course. I drove on those roads. Yeah. And this is something that's very openly discussed, the road system.
Right.
Because it's one of the most obvious apartheid systems that you'll see.
How does it work for like people that want to go visit from outside? Are you like being protected by the government or something, or
no? Because it's funny. You land there,
yeah,
and first of all, they try to interview you. For example, they caught my mom because she had the what's it called, the plane company,
yeah,
the Emirates. Yeah. She had one of their tags that they gave you out where you can write your name on her bag, and for that they were like, "Do you have any connection to the Emirates?"
Wow.
Because otherwise we might have to do an interview. Interrogation, sorry.
So like they don't want any sort of journalism coming in from the outside.
Oh yeah, no. I have a few Danish friends who went there as well a friend of a friend, a family friend, who went there to do an interview,
right, and
to do some documentation. Mm-hmm. And it was really hard for her to smuggle all her sources and everything she put together back into Denmark. Yeah. You know, it is hard. They actively stop journalists. Mm. And when I went to the protests here in Amsterdam, there was a student speaking actually from a international Palestinian like student movement, and she said like I don't want to be here because they might not let me go back to the West Bank when I go home, and that's true. They can just stop you, and no one can help you, you know. And in the West Bank, one of the biggest criticisms there is of Israel is that they have military rule and military courts, so not civil courts, and in the military courts they're allowed to arrest children as well.
What the fuck, bro?
So if a child throws a stone or just looks at you funny, you can arrest him, and you can hold him indefinitely.
Bro, but you know they're not just gonna arrest them; they're gonna like torture them, bro.
Oh, there's a lot of torture and sexual assault as well in those military prisons, and they make you sign. And this is like insane, dude. Every corner you turn in there, you see more and more brutality, dude. So these kids get arrested, and then they have no legal representation. They don't have the right to a lawyer, which is a human right. They don't have any of those rights, and they have to go through the process in Hebrew, which they do not even speak, and sign court documents as a child, 8 years old, 10 years old, in Hebrew, which they cannot even read.
Yeah. Without
access to a parent, a guardian, or a lawyer.
That's just absolutely ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, and while they're doing that, they're also beating you up and keeping you in a cage, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so how did I get here? When I landed
Oslo
something.
Courts? Oh no, you landed in Palestine. I asked you, is it safe on the roads?
Oh yeah, no, it is safe. But one of the things you see is every time you leave the Israeli roads and everything to go into Palestinian territories, whatever is remaining, there's a clear sign that says you are now entering Palestinian territories. Beware, it's like dangerous. Like danger, you're exiting Israel.
So like there's also propaganda on the roads for like tourists as well when they go there.
It's everywhere, bro.
Damn.
It's everywhere. It's like you're entering a Muslim area, be careful, they're savages.
But does it in a way not feel like you're in a zoo almost?
Yeah. Very much. Very much so. It's apartheid. Yeah. You have two systems, and by the way, since 1967, and now we're in the whole thing, we're at like where are we? Yeah, 1995, which was the end of the Oslo Accords, when the guy got shot in 1996. Since then, they built a huge wall that separates both Gaza and the West Bank from the rest of Israel, and that wall is built way beyond the 1967 agreements and is built beyond Jerusalem. So essentially, all the Palestinians living in the West Bank and Gaza cannot go through those walls and into Israel or even to Jerusalem.
Damn.
And so those walls do make it feel like a zoo, and you have all these people trapped in there. And then inside of those walls, you have more walls, which connect to the bigger walls, so that all the settlers can basically live inside of Israel while being in Palestine, you know, in the West Bank. And on top of that, you have connecting roads that are also walled off, so that the settlers can drive from Israel and back without ever having to get off of Israeli infrastructure.
Dude, I remember seeing like a documentary on this, like back in, I think it was high school or something. I can't remember where. But I remember seeing all these walls. I'm like, how does this feel like? How is this normal in any way, bro? It's
crazy, bro. It's crazy. And then, so that's one of the biggest problems, the settlements. And then outside of the settlements, in just random Palestinian neighborhoods, there are about 700 checkpoints where the military stands there and blocks you from going from one end of your own country, or that's not a country because we don't recognize it.
No.
One end of your own West Bank to the other end. And in that process, you have to wait hours in a line that it's like you're suffocating around other humans. It's like you're in a little cage. And they can do whatever the fuck they want to you there. They can shoot you. They can hit you. They can tell you, no, you can't cross. Go back home, even if you're going to the hospital. This is very well documented. Mm-hmm. Or they can just say, fuck it, we're going to close you in here for a few hours. You know? Yeah. All of you fucking humans that are crowded in the space, sorry, there's a delay, you're closed.
But this is also now. It's
this has been going since 1967.
Right.
And they just, like, ultimately, there is a Palestinian Authority that's called the PLO in the West Bank.
Okay.
That is a government, but is not recognized as a state. And many people are saying nowadays that they're basically a puppet government for Israel.
Right.
Because they don't have any power when it comes to disputing Israel. And whatever Israel wants to do, not only can they not do anything about it, they go along and even help them. Mm-hmm. Like when Israel has to do military operations and goes to arrest kids, the PLO and their police force help them in what's called like a collaborative peacekeeping or whatever they call it, you know?
Right.
So they collaborate with the Israeli military and all these things.
Right. But I also have a question. Right? Does Palestine have its own government?
Yeah, the PLO.
Okay, and that's the government.
Yeah, but it's very shaky, and they haven't had elections in a long time. And as I said, they don't really. They're in no way a counter to Israel, right. And Israel still has complete occupation and authority there, and anything they want to do, the Palestinian government is helpless to fight back on, right? So anytime that Israel builds a new settlement and kicks out people and takes away their farmland or whatever it is, all the PLO can do is be like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And if Palestinians come to protest, what you see the Palestinian protesters, then you see the Palestinian police between the Palestinian protesters and the Israeli military.
Right.
So protecting the Israeli military, even though the Israeli military obviously already protects themselves, you know?
Damn, bro.
So it's crazy, man. And the last thing I want to say, since the Oslo Accords, since they failed, is that the water was never divided in two. You have the Jordan River, which is the biggest water supply in the area. And that was split 50% between Israel and 50% between Jordan and 0% to Palestine.
Right. And but this just very much sounds like we have Israel and they're just holding Palestinians
hostage.
Basically. Yeah.
Because as I said, it's very open inside of Israeli discourse that their circumstances should be as unlivable as possible so that they may flee or die.
It's like on a basic humanitarian level, it just makes no sense at all to say that Israel has like some sort of right or something. No. Like there's just no way you can say that.
And I'll finish my thing about water, but then I'll get to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then inside of the West Bank, Israel controls 80% of the water. While Palestinians only get 20%. So this is resource underground water.
Yeah.
And 80% of that water goes to the settlements, and they have water all day. And I saw that when I was there. Whilst the Palestinians in the West Bank have water a few hours a week, or if they're lucky, 2 hours, 4 hours a day. And they have to rely on big tanks that they fill up while the water supply is on, and then they use that throughout the day. So even their own water underneath their own feet goes straight to the settlers and they get crumbs. And whenever the Palestinians try to build water infrastructure, it gets destroyed by the Israeli military because they say, no, this looks kind of dangerous. Even the UN, they don't approve of. Whenever the UN tried to build a sewage system or a water system.
Yeah.
So it's insane. And as you said, like about the humanitarian side of Israel is always championed as the only democracy in the Middle East. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're always championed as like people who care about Western values and human rights.
But like, who are these people that are saying these things?
The whole media, bro, and America and Europe.
How?
Whenever we talk about Israel, it's like our number one ally in the Middle East and the only beacon of democracy in the Middle East. It's like the most common saying.
Well,
and now people are starting to say, well, they're not democracy because you cannot be a democracy when you have apartheid. You know? All right, so let's move on. 2005, you have the second Intifada.
Yeah.
So another uprising And that one ends in 2007. And in 2007, Hamas takes over Gaza. So until then, it was the PLO or Fatah, I think. I can't remember which one, but they're basically the same. I should not have said that. That's probably wrong. But in any case, Hamas takes over Gaza. I don't know from who.
No, but when was Hamas created? At which point?
In the late 80s, I think, 87.
Okay.
Or it could be in the late 90s.
Okay.
But this is like a terrorist Islamic extremist. So like inside of Palestinian politics, these are far right.
Right.
Who want to kick out all Jews from all of Israel.
Right.
And want to take it all back.
And so they just came to be in, you said 1987.
Yeah. But they gained power in 2007 for the first time.
Right.
When there was an election, and they won the election, but then the PLO would not accept that because it's a terrorist group.
Right.
And they still had hopes of peace, which many say is fake or false. And then they basically fought a little war and they took over Gaza. And
why is Gaza important?
So,
in this?
Well, because they're people, but because Gaza is ruled by Hamas, while the West Bank is ruled by the PLO, the Palestinian government. And Hamas it is a terrorist organization that was voted by the people, because at this point, when you look at 2007, right, the Palestinians have now tried every single form of peaceful resistance that you can. Arafat laid down his arms and he went into negotiation. They got nothing out of it. They signed their own deals, the Oslo Accords. They got nothing out of it. In fact, they kept losing land and losing human rights. They went to the UN. There was 88 resolutions passed against Israel. None of them have been respected.
I mean, as wrong as it sounds, it's like you'd kind of expect like Palestine.
What else? What else can you?
What else can you do? What else can you expect? It's like these groups are like to be expected.
Yeah, it is. It is what happens.
And to a certain extent, you kind of want to side with them as well, but
but
they have the wrong idea.
The thing is, you cannot side with Hamas for the same reason that I can't side with Israel, because killing civilians is killing civilians.
Yeah.
No matter your justification,
Yeah.
Even if Israel was justified, you cannot bomb civilians.
Yeah.
So, in any case, Hamas is not it. But when you go down every single form of peaceful resistance possible, and they all fail, and not only fail, you lose and lose and lose more land and more rights, and you feel more and more choked and more like you're living in a zoo, and your economy is more and more disrupted by the Israeli process, then what's going to happen is you end up moving towards a more violent, extremist form of resistance, right? So that's a problem. So Hamas takes over Gaza, and now Israel at this point declares that all of the people living in Hamas are basically terrorists because they voted for Hamas.
Yeah.
And this is when they really start doing horrible things to the Gaza Strip. And by the way, the Gaza Strip is a tiny piece of land that is one of the most densely populated places on Earth. And it's often referred to as an open-air prison because there's just walls surrounding it completely on all sides. And if you get too close to the wall, the military has the right to shoot you.
Wow.
And they do that all the time. Like, there's just teenagers smoking, having a bit of a walk, and they're like, you're a little too close, you get shot dead.
Damn.
Like live rounds, And then once in a while, Hamas will start a confrontation like they did this week. And the last one was in 2014, the Gaza war. And as soon as they fire rockets, Israel comes in and they have a predetermined list of things they want to hit where they say that Hamas is sitting or operating out of. And then they just bomb those places to hell,
Right.
And they kill immense amount of civilians in the process.
Right.
So that's the Gaza Strip. So if we look at present day, since all of this is taking place, we have three different groups. We have inside of Israel, which is 20% still Arabic/Palestinians.
Right.
And inside of Israel, if you're Palestinian, what you're up against is an extremely racist society and borderline apartheid. So there's neighborhoods, or most neighborhoods, you're not allowed to live in because the mayors of those neighborhoods explicitly have laws against Palestinian residents that say that only Jewish people are allowed to live here. I think it was 1 year ago, laws got signed into place by the government that kind of solidified the apartheid state and said that there was an explicit first and second class citizen. One of them is a Jewish citizen and one of them is an Arabic citizen. And it's harder for you to get into universities, to get work, all these type of things, right? and you don't have the same freedom of movement either. Then you have the Palestinians in the West Bank who are living under actual apartheid and are constantly getting their land taken away from them, who are slowly being killed off by the IDF and settlers who also have the right to arms, by the way, while Palestinians don't. And the settlers often just go and terrorize Palestinians. And the IDF shows up, the Israeli military, and they kind of just don't do anything. And it's well known that if a settler kills a Palestinian, they don't go to jail. While if a Palestinian kills a settler, he gets shot on spot.
Right.
And then you have the people in the Gaza Strip who are living under effective genocide because, as I said, they're blocked off on all sides. If you go too close to the fence, you get shot. And on the other hand, on the other side, they have the sea. And if you go out past a certain limit in the sea, you also get shot. So you cannot even swim away, if you wanted to.
Dude, all this sounds like a bit like way too, like, how do you get out of this mess? If, like, let's say we're Palestine, like, how does Palestine get out of this, like, whole situation?
Like, they try all the peaceful ways, it leads nowhere. Then they tried BDS, which is boycott, divestments, and sanctions.
Right.
And that is labeled anti-Semitic. Right?
Right.
And then they try violence, and when they try violence, they get genocide as in return. So I have no idea. And the people, look, in the Gaza Strip, over half the population are under 18 or 18 or younger. So most of them have only been alive since the blockade was put in place.
Right.
Their whole lives they have lived between these walls.
Right.
Most of them were not alive, but back when Gaza got overtaken by Hamas.
Do you reckon that there's going to be a war in the future?
Of course. I was talking to a colleague of mine who I really respect, who's older, and he said that when he was my age, this was 20 years ago, he asked his English teacher about this, and his English teacher said this will never end.
Right.
And he's right. This will never end.
And the only way for this to end is like if they go to war again.
No, the way it's going to, in the course right now, it's going to end by kicking or killing all the Palestinians, kicking them out or killing all of them. And a few of them will be left behind in Israel as second-class citizens. Or the only other way for this to finish is if people like us put enough pressure on our own governments.
Right.
That we stop supplying weapons and maybe even start boycotting. Because this is how the apartheid system in South Africa ended, which there's a big parallel between South Africa and Israel.
But like, what are the chances that our governments actually do that or like they follow through?
I say it's never going to end because it looks impossible, and I think it's impossible. But that's the same thing that we thought about black people in America. That's the same thing that we thought about the apartheid system in South Africa. And all of a sudden, when the momentum starts building, things do change. And it's crazy. It's like you would have to convince the Israeli people themselves that apartheid is not the way to go and genocide is not the way to go.
And that's a hard thing to do with people that are very stubborn or like people that just don't want to listen or like have the general idea that they're just right no matter what.
And it's very hard to do because the left political leaders get persecuted inside of Israel, like the guy who got shot that we talked about.
Yeah.
And because every single Israeli has to serve 2 years in the military. So that's a very systematic way of grabbing the entire population for 2 years of their life when they're really impressionable and young and forcing a narrative onto them that you're protecting your country. They're all terrorists. You're allowed to shoot them indiscriminately. Nothing's going to happen to you if you kill them. And to make them complicit, Because
in a lot of these videos of like Israeli people, you can see how passionately they believe in what they believe in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ultra-nationalism. And when you make someone complicit, you say, hey, here's a gun, go shoot that kid. And then they shoot that kid. Now it's going to be infinitely harder to convince them that what they did was wrong. Because, challenging their framework would mean that they would have to see themselves as guilty, as culpable. And that's really hard.
Yeah. So
that's one of the main reasons why Israel has slowly and surely just been moving towards the right. And there's been no backlash. So, present day, we talked about the three differences of being Palestinian, whether you're in Israel, West Bank, or Gaza. And now what happened this week or the last 2 weeks was that basically there's the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, which is in East Jerusalem.
It's just some neighborhood in
East Jerusalem.
Okay.
And East Jerusalem is where the Palestinians want their future capital for the Palestinian state, which has never been recognized. and is inside of the Israeli walls, so it's basically impossible. And even the West Bank won't be a state ever because of the settlements. You know, it's like you cannot make a country where like you're living between settlements and walls.
That is true.
You know, where it's like your villages are like tiny islands inside of another country. It's like putting 10 different Vaticans together and saying that this is a country.
Okay, because I was gonna say the Vatican, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Vatican, one Vatican maybe. You know, that will be the future Palestinian state.
Yeah, but I mean, also the Vatican's hella rich with hella money with so much more freedom than
yeah, for sure. But anyways, what happened is they were kicking people out of Sheikh Jarrah, and then they attacked Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the third holy site for Muslims in Jerusalem. And they went inside and disrupted prayer. And there were some people who were protesting already because of the Sheikh Jarrah, and they were throwing rocks, and they got met with bullets. And they always do this when there's a few people protesting. They persecute everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's thousands of people there because they're just going to pray, or at least hundreds of people. I imagine thousands.
I don't actually know how big that place is, so I wouldn't know.
I mean, I've seen the photos. I would say definitely hundreds.
Yeah.
I would imagine thousands. So when that happened, Hamas said, "You leave Al-Aqsa Mosque alone. You get out of there," to the Israeli military. You stop the eviction of the families in Sheikh Jarrah, or we will bomb you.
Right.
And then when they got that message, Netanyahu was like, which is the Israeli prime minister, he said, "Go in again." And they sent the military into Al-Aqsa Mosque again, and they went in twice as hard.
But at this point, they're just like trying to make conflict.
And this is what my point was with the 1967 war, and this is what's happening all the time nowadays. It's intense, constant provocations, right? At the same time that you constantly shut down and ignore any peaceful resistance. And then you provoke until there's violent resistance. And when there's violent resistance, you use it as an excuse for genocide. And that's why it's good to zoom out and look at the context, because they've been doing this for almost 100 years.
And I mean, I guess it's working as well, because like there are genuinely some people that think that Hamas is in the wrong and Israel is in the right for doing what they're doing.
I mean, in 2014, everyone agreed on that.
Yeah.
This time around, I see a little bit more of a shift where it's like, okay, we understand Hamas is bad, but you're still committing war crimes by bombing civilians, hospital, refugee camps, schools, and journalist buildings, you know? Yeah. And people say, yeah, but Israel has the right to defend themselves. But the right to defend yourself has never trumped or overruled the right for human rights.
Bro.
Or the fact that you can't commit war crimes.
The right to defend yourself, to me, is not killing children, bro. Like, what?
Yeah.
At what point?
And also, then your whole argument there is because in this current conflict, right? Once Gaza fired rockets, of course, Israel strike back. But I think if you follow the news, you know that. In this current conflict, let me see. We have 197 dead, 58 of those children, and they're almost all civilians, estimate about 90%, based off of humanitarian groups.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, I think, 11 or 10 dead in Israel, right?
Right.
So if you do the math, sorry, that's the cat in the background. But if you do the math, that is saying that in self-defense for every one Israeli, we're perfectly comfortable with murdering 20 civilians.
And that's not all right.
That's not how.
That is not all right.
You know, that's not self-defense. If Niloy, if you catch me taking someone you care about hostage, right? And I'm in a building. No, wait. Let me see. if I shoot someone that you like,
right,
and then I go to hide in a school, you cannot just go bomb the school so you can kill me. You know.
I mean, as long as I get you, you know.
Yeah, but that's the argument.
Yeah, that's
the legitimate argument. It says, yeah, no, it's fine that we killed 20 civilians and also children, 1/4 of them children.
Yeah.
So that would mean 15 adults and 5 children, because that will stop one Israeli from dying, and that's worth it. And that's the human life value difference that there is between Israelis and Arabs.
It's like at that point you just don't have any values, or like you're not human.
Yeah, and also you don't value the life of Palestinians.
You just don't value life at all.
Which is probably why they're resisting violently.
It's at this point you just have power, and like you're just having fun with it. You're like, you're living out. You're a psychopath. I'd say you're a psychopath.
And okay, so then why are so many civilians dying? To bring up the Israeli talking points, which is, oh well, Hamas is firing out of residential areas, and that's why we have to strike them where they are, and then a lot of civilians die. Now, first of all, as I said, Gaza is the most densely populated place on Earth, one of the most.
Right.
So there is nowhere to fire a rocket from in a place like that doesn't have civilians nearby.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know? And then second of all, the people in Gaza are fleeing for their lives.
Yeah.
They don't want to stay there, but there's nowhere to go because you've closed the borders, and if they try to swim for their life, you shoot them because they're not allowed out on the other side. And instead they're running, and they're still trying to run, but there's nowhere to run to because they live in this densely populated area that is walled off. So instead they're running around like little ants in a tuna can, you know?
It's like
in
Israel,
circles, and they still
Israel
get bombed.
knows exactly what they're doing, man. Fuck.
Yeah, it's okay. So if you want, you could just open the borders so that all the Palestinians could flee, you know? I think it's like 3/4 of the people living in Gaza are already refugees from the previous wars. You don't think they would run away from this one too if they could?
Yeah, it's like it almost feels like Israel knows exactly what they're doing, but they're just messing around with like.
Yeah, it's not like the civilians are there like, yes, we're gonna die because we want to protect Hamas. It's like, okay, so if you recognize that Hamas is operating from civilian areas, then your excuse cannot be, I'm gonna kill all the civilians. It should be, let's get the civilians out of there, because they want to leave. They would go to Egypt if they could, you know?
Yeah.
They would go to Israel if they could.
Yeah.
Anywhere where there's no bombs and the children can survive.
Yeah.
So it's intense, man. And so in the end there was a ceasefire, and the ceasefire was met on two conditions from the Hamas's side, which was that once again you stop the evictions in Sheikh Jarrah, and once again you leave Al-Aqsa Mosque alone.
Yeah.
And as soon as the ceasefire ended, they stormed Al-Aqsa Mosque
again
yesterday. Yeah, immediately. So now I'm waiting to see what's going to happen, because it could very well be that war breaks out again.
Yeah.
At which point it would be horrible, man.
Yeah.
Because Gaza's already collapsed basically completely. I mean, their power lines are fucked.
But like, what was the reason that Israel sent their people to Al-Aqsa Mosque again?
It's provocation.
Yeah.
Officially, not provocation. That's what I see and what I think people should recognize.
Yeah.
Provocation. But according to the Israelis, it's because there was people there protesting. Because what's happened since the war on Gaza started 2 weeks ago, 11 days ago, sorry, is that the Palestinians in the West Bank and inside of Israel have started to protest, and now they did a general strike, which had one of the biggest general strikes in the history of the Palestinians. And what you're seeing for the first time, which gives me a bit of hope, is the unification between the people in Gaza, the West Bank, and Israel. Because a big part of Israel's tactic was to divide and conquer, you know? You divide the conditions and of the people between, of the Palestinian people between the ones living in Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza, so that they cannot have a common, they can't have common demands and common problems. And that's worked really well, which is why you see this divide. But now you see the Palestinians starting to get together again, and the Palestinians living in Israel have realized that they don't want to live in Israel under apartheid anymore, and that even they are subjugated to being kicked out of their homes in Sheikh Jarrah, for example.
Right.
So they're saying, actually, we thought we were better off because we're living inside of Israel, but we're not, and we can see where this is going. And as the protests were going on, there was also massive lynchings. So this was Israeli extremists lynching Arabs who were going around with guns and with cars, and trying to find Arabs and just lynch them. So let's kill them in public sight, in a pure sight. So the ground is changing a bit, and yeah, I don't know where this will go from here, man. I hope the best.
We hope for the best, man.
Do you want to know what you can do?
What can we do?
You can support BDS.
What's that?
Boycott, divestments, and sanctions.
Okay.
Boycott Israel, and the reason why I believe in this is because it worked for South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And when I use the word believe, it's more like hope.
Yeah.
Because what I believe is that this won't get solved, and that the Palestinians will suffer at least another 50 years.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm going to try and do. And you not only boycott, but you can also donate to the BDS so that they can get their message out there. And
we're hopefully going to link all these below.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Another thing you can do is donate to just humans and children in Gaza who need food, who need water. And because, by the way, fun fact, 90% of the drinking water in Gaza 90% of the water in Gaza is undrinkable, and Israel controls that water, and they could change it if they wanted to, but they don't mind. They just
don't want to.
Yeah, they don't mind. They don't mind that they're poisoning the people there. So, yeah, they need food most of all. They need water. They need probably clothes and materials, but you can't really send in materials because Israel won't let it through. They say they use it to build bombs and underground tunnels, so they won't let them rebuild. But you can at least send them food for the time being, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what you can do.
Bro, this shit's sad, bro.
Do you have anything you want to say on it? Because I have a closing message that I would like to bring out there.
I don't necessarily have a closing message other than just saying how distraught or like how bad I feel for this whole situation, and like my prayers go for the people in Palestine as well.
Right.
But other than that, I just hope this conflict gets resolved somehow. Hopefully.
Soon. Let's see. Okay, here's my closing message, and I thought quite a while about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think my closing message is, look, I don't think anyone would argue that the German people during the Nazi era, you know, were better off or had anything to gain from the Nazis, you know?
Right.
Because it's not a way to be human, it's not a way to live, and it's not good for yourself either. And likewise, I think the Israeli people need to recognize that apartheid, racism, and genocide is not helpful towards the Israeli people either. And eventually it leads you down a really dark path, which is not a way to be, not a way of human existence, you know? And this is one of the reasons why the Israelis wanted to end apartheid in the 90s with the Oslo Accords, was because they said they saw what it was doing to their youth,
mm-hmm.
and they didn't like it. This idea of radicalizing your own youth, making them believe that they're allowed to suppress another group of people because they have a different religion or they don't look like you. And so I'd say, you know, from the Israeli side, I have a lot of sympathy for the Israelis too, because they're also suffering from their own demise and their own arguments, let's say, or their own ill doings. So not only do I wish liberty and human rights to all the Palestinians, but I wish the Israelis found a better way to exist without having to go down this dark path. And I really have a lot of sympathy for all these kids who grew up under this propaganda and grew up having to kill people and having to go to the military and committing atrocities. And I don't know what it's going to take to convince them otherwise. But I hope.
One can only hope. Or if you're religious, pray.
If you're religious, pray. By the way, Ben Shapiro, dude.
What about him? What did he do?
He always says, you know, facts don't care about your feelings.
You're right.
And then based off a holy book, he thinks that he has the right to take over all of Palestine. It's kind of
does Ben Shapiro think Israel is in the right or something?
Yeah, he's Jewish and he's an ultra-nationalist, like, in that case. Dude, but you know, people on the right wing in America look at Israel,
yeah,
and then their mouths start watering because they wish they could just kick out all black people and exterminate them. And
no, but here's the thing, right? The people that are right wing in America, they're also very religious, very religious.
And a lot of those people, there's also Christian Zionism, which is Christians who also want to join in on the fun, you know?
Yeah.
And they also go and buy properties in Israel and go live there. So that's a really real thing as well, that those two collaborating. But yeah, I think that's it. All I had to say about it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long did it take?
It was like,
oh man,
an hour.
I wasn't looking at the time, bro.
You said condense in 30 minutes. Nah, it's alright. I think like I actually genuinely learned a lot because I personally didn't know all of this at all. And
yeah,
I thought it was like fun to like not fun. I wouldn't say fun. But it was interesting to like it was interesting though, because now I actually know my facts, and like if people ask me like what I know, or like not even if people ask me what I know, it's just for myself. Now I know what's going on.
And but you don't need to, if you didn't understand any of this, it's fine.
Yeah.
What you do need to know, and I think which like was supposed to be the way our world functions, by the way.
Yeah.
After the Nazi era happened, we were like, let's make the UN, let's make human rights organizations, so that we can call it out if it ever happens again. And all these systems are calling out Israel. And
then when it happens,
but Israel doesn't do it.
Yeah.
But what you need to know is one of them is recognized as a state and supported by the world, Israel. The other one is not. One of them is constantly taking land. The other one is not. One of them has all the power. The other one doesn't. Mm-hmm. And one of them is constantly being condemned by the UN and every human rights organization that you can imagine, and calling it an apartheid state. So if you don't want to do all the research, that's fine. At least believe the UN
Yeah.
and all these human rights watches, you know?
Yeah.
That, yeah, because they're all on the same side here, that Israel is committing war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Yeah. Dude.
What? Eminem?
Eminem? I was going to say, like, after this 1 hour talk, it almost feels wrong talking about Eminem. Like, it's almost as if, like,
we could end it here.
We could end it here with music of the week.
Yes. Depends what you want to do. I also got shit to do later today, so.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to say something brief about Eminem, why you like him so much,
nah,
why his
good.
music saved your life or something in the past.
Nah, dude, either you start with your anti-Eminem rhetoric,
right?
Or I'm out of here, bro.
Right?
Or I'm gonna leave it at this.
Okay, because the way I see it is that apparently Eminem saved your life or something. You had like some dark thoughts in the past. You're like, Eminem really saved you. It's like his lyrics really hit you in the heart strings.
For real, man.
Yeah.
No, I've always had a lot of anger, you know.
When Eminem said those beautiful lyrics of Samalama Dumalama, you're like, yo, that really touched my heart, bro.
Dude, especially the Samalama part.
The Samalama gets you every time.
Hey, bro. Samalama Dumalama, human things. I used to know it.
Oh, you're Eminem.
I used to know it, bro.
But that's literally it, right? He's making fun of all these mumble rappers, and then he's out here going like Samalama Dumalama.
Hey,
like,
fuck
what?
you, bro.
It's like he literally became famous off saying Samalama Dumalama. What's that even mean, bro?
Okay, but the rest, assuming I'm a human.
Yeah.
Everything I do, fuck, dude. Ricocheting something.
And you're the biggest Eminem fan and you don't even know the lyrics.
Wait, Samalama Dumalama, assuming I'm a human, everything I do to get it through to I'm a superhuman. Innovated, made of rubber.
You're right.
Everything you say is ricocheting off of me and onto you.
That's an awfully hot coffee pot.
Cause I know how to get these motherfuckers elevated. I make elevating music. You make elevator music.
What's wrong with elevator music?
It's kind of boring, you know. I prefer Eminem. No, listen, dude. I had a lot of anger.
Right.
And Eminem helped me deal with that anger. And I saw how angry Eminem was, and I related a lot to it. And I saw that how he managed to have a beautiful daughter and like how that he ended up loving more than being angry.
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to say.
Like,
and that was inspirational to me. And I vibe with a lot of his lyrics, and I think he's the fucking GOAT when it comes to rap, dude. And that's it, dude.
Bro, like apparently he's like one of the top 5 rappers in the world.
Top 5 for sure.
Top 5, as in like making money wise. Money wise, he has like the most money, like one of the top 5. It's like with Jay-Z, Drake, Kanye.
When did Jay-Z make money?
Bro, Jay-Z was big back in the day, bro.
Yeah, but I don't remember it.
What?
I literally don't remember it.
The man is married to Beyonce, bro.
Yeah, I never understood that. When did Jay-Z make money, dude?
But to be fair, if like Jay-Z...
Was I alive?
But like, to be fair, if Jay-Z married someone like Beyonce, there's hope for all of us, bro, in the world.
With those lips. Nah, dude. Eminem gave me hope because his life ended well but started horribly.
No, but here's the thing about Eminem, right? He's an absolute joke man nowadays.
Yeah.
Back in the day...
Look, of course, I'm not going to tell you that Eminem is good nowadays.
Dude, he needs to quit. Someone needs to tell him to stop making music.
Well, I'll say he's not as bad as people say. He's still alright nowadays.
Bro, his daughter needs to like send him to an old home care or something like that. Bro.
No, dude, he's going to destroy that place, bro. He's going to create Israel-Palestine in that.
No, but I still can't believe that Eminem... The music that he makes nowadays, he's just like so boring. Like back in the day, I could back him. He's like, yo, whatever he comes out with, whatever feature he's on, he's like so cool. He's the coolest person ever. Like he just makes every feature that much better. Like when he's featured, it's basically his song at that point.
Also, like how many songs has he been featured on that you didn't know he was featured on? You know?
Like yeah, true.
When you listen to it, you're like, oh shit, he's here.
That's Eminem.
Yeah.
But nowadays, whenever he comes up with something new, it's like, oh shit, it's Eminem. Fuck, I don't want to listen to that old guy anymore.
Dude, you know what it is for me? It's like. Like since revival, it's like yes, dude, it's fucking Eminem. Let's go. Oh no, bro. Why is this not good?
Like nowadays, whenever Eminem comes on, it's like what? He's still making music? I thought he died or something. What?
Yeah, I was like, fuck, he's still making music. Let's go. And then I listened to him like, I'll save one song. You're
like, rest in peace, Juice WRLD, but Eminem's still alive and kicking.
Yeah, I told you, bro, dude. Ain't no way Eminem surviving this long with all these other rappers dying, bro. DMX died, bro, and Eminem is alive.
What is this racism, bro? All these DMX...
apartheid system inside of rap.
Yeah. But if there's anything I want to say, it's either Eminem needs to get better or like go back to his old stuff, or he just completely stops making whatever the fuck he's making nowadays.
I wish Eminem a long, peaceful retirement.
Oh, so even you as a fan want him to stop making music?
I don't want to go through this ridicule of being Eminem's #1 fan for much longer. Eminem, you've made so much good music, and I think that some of your newer songs are still pretty fire.
And also so much bad music.
A lot of bad music in the newer ones. Too much bad music.
What was that one song where he's like, I put a dribble up my ass or something, and then he got...
Oh, but that's an old song, dude, that popped up again.
Yeah,
do you want to know the whole Eminem history, bro? I can spit it out for you.
No, but here's the thing, right? He used to make music like that as well. People are like, yo, this guy is nice.
No, that album, no, it was when he was doing drugs.
Right.
He went to the hospital, bro.
Right, okay.
But before that, yeah. I think he had a lot of good music, bro.
No, he did have a lot of good music. Like, he needs to go back to like the I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady.
How good was Kamikaze, dude?
Not that good.
Fuck.
It's like,
pretty good.
It was really good.
Also, for the time, like that year, it was really good.
No, it was really good, but the only thing that he does well is like he just raps really fast on beat.
Yeah, and this comes to my point. I think he's the GOAT when it comes to rapping, but not music making. He's not a musician, he's a rapper.
Because would you listen to Kamikaze like on repeat, or like would you listen to it if it pops up on your queue? Just
I used to. Nowadays, I find it hard. Bro, except for Lucky You.
Bro, it's so hard to like listen to his music. It's like, it's just him rapping really fast or like speaking really fast, and it's just like, what?
Yeah.
And he's gotten very political. It ruins people.
The political thing though was fine. I wanted that from him for the longest time because he was against the Iraq war, but then he kind of backed out of politics. But yeah, like dude, back in the day, he was really good politically.
Yeah.
And he made some good hard hitting songs against George Bush and stuff like that.
Nowadays it's just like it's an awfully hot coffee pot. Should I rather not.
And then when like Trump came in, he just like, oh, it was so cringe, man. It was so bad what he did.
Dogecoin to the moon, Bitcoin
going boom.
That's literally how he raps nowadays.
How to be Eminem, bro.
It's like it's as if he has dementia or something, and he just forgot how to rap really well like he used to, and now he's just trying to.
No, I think he got old. He lost. Right? You know what a big part of it I think is. He lost his motivation and the feelings that were behind his lyrics, you know?
But here's also something that confuses me. It's like, how do you get worse over time? Aren't you supposed to technically get better over time?
I don't know where you get this idea from. I don't know if you've ever listened to musicians, bro. You either die young or you become bad.
No, dude. People just a lot of people keep getting better with the experience as well.
Nah, I don't see that.
Because when you're younger, you produce the stuff that you think is really good. And then when you slowly get older and older, you start refining your taste. You start like going around. You meet more people. You see their style. You learn how to do more music stuff.
Look at Bruno Mars, for example.
Bro, he's so good still.
Ass.
But that's also the thing, bro. You just have ass music taste, bro, overall.
No, you know, dude, like, no, okay, look. Wait, I missed your point, bro.
You have ass music overall. You think Eminem sounds good nowadays?
No, don't twist my words, bro. I said nowadays he has ass music. He has bad music, but he still has some music that I appreciate, which I understand people don't appreciate.
Right.
Like music that I find to be 8 out of 10 that other people I expect or I think respectfully would find 6 out of 10.
No, but here's the thing: we just have different music tastes.
Different
music tastes.
Different.
And I just think Eminem is fucking shit right now, bro.
No, I understand why. But look, to your point.
Yeah.
People get better at what they think they need to get better at.
Right.
For example, Eminem is the rapping. Yeah. And he makes more and more clever and complex rhymes. That takes like 20 steps to understand.
Debatable.
No, seriously. Like the rhymes itself and what do you call the metaphors, the similes and everything in his lyrics, it's like 10 times more complex, and he's gotten like insanely good at that. But the actual song, the energy, the whole fucking point of listening to music, which is, wow, this is cool, is completely gone, you know?
Something that I think he's doing really wrong is I think he's taking beats from like these newer generation people, and then he's trying to rap old style on these new style beats.
Yeah, dude, that's true, dude. The old, like, the original beats from fucking Eminem were good, dude, when Dre was around, you know? Making those old school beats. It's like I want some of that back. You know, you don't have to change.
Bro, do you remember the post that I sent you by Eminem that he posted? It was like him rapping on like this really horrible beat.
I like that song, dude.
How, bro?
I actually like that song.
I sent it to the group. I was like, how does he think this is good in any shape, way, or form, bro?
I'm kidding, bro. That's like the
it
circus
was
song.
so ass, dude.
I did listen to it once. I was like, this is all right.
It's not alright at all. It's like you're thinking like, okay, he did something different, but it's not even good different.
It's
bro.
not.
It's just
bad.
different. It's just different. That's it.
Aye, bro. But Eminem is still the best rapper alive, you know.
And that's what music of the week. Ba-da-pap. No, that's McDonald's.
You can't say that, bro. We get copyrighted.
Toot. I guess we made it to music of the week, and let's start with yours. Eminem ass.
Eminem Infinite. This song, I promise you, is a good Eminem song.
Right.
As far as I am aware of, it was the first one that he recorded and released publicly. I think he had like an EP that he was throwing around before that.
Mm-hmm.
But this was like insanely good song. He was 18 when he recorded it, or something like that. Probably 18, around that age.
Right.
And the lyrics mean absolutely jack shit.
Right.
He's just spitting bars and going off. I mean, the lyrics are really good, but they're not really saying anything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He's got a sick fucking flow, an amazing beat, and I think that you should check it out, and you'll see a side of Eminem that's far gone, far faded.
And now, the opinion of someone who has better taste in music, I actually agree with this one.
Let's
like,
go.
This is actually one of the Eminem musics. Or like
bro, stop
Eminem
being so
songs.
fucking arrogant on your music taste, dude.
So Eminem... like this Eminem song,
I will
like,
shoot you.
This Eminem rap song is like
I will
pretty
shoot
good.
you, bro.
This Eminem song actually pretty fucking good, bro. And I think this is like more of the stuff that he needs to go back to.
Yeah.
This is when like if you came out with something like that, I'd be like, yo, this guy's cool, bro. This guy knows how to rap.
But that's dude, when you're young and you don't care.
Yeah.
I feel like your original intuition, your ear, just fades over time.
But here's the thing as well, right? I still don't think he cares, just like he didn't care back then.
Yeah, but but back then he said he didn't care, but he did care.
He wanted to make it big.
Yeah. Now he just doesn't care.
That
but
might
in
be
a
the
bad
problem.
way, because you need to care, bro. Because
that might be the problem, bro. That might be the problem. And that's the thing. He doesn't care that his music is shit either.
Yeah.
He's just like, yo, I'm Eminem, bro.
Yeah, I will say that also, like, guys, let him rest, you know?
Yeah.
He put out bangers. Now he's old and grumpy and making weird music.
I think it's the perfect time for him to pass away, bro. Then maybe his music would be big again.
Dude, stop saying Eminem's gonna die. I'm gonna cry. If Eminem dies, I'm out of here, bro. I'm leaving.
Damn, aren't you older than Eminem or something?
Nah, I'm 2 years younger, actually.
Oh, true. Your birthday soon. You turn 33.
20.
Plus or minus.
Dude, I don't want to turn. But the next episode, I'll be 20.
Shit.
I don't want to be 20, bro. Please, help me. How did you avoid it?
It's like, I'm trying to fit in with these cool, like, young kids, hip. I'm trying to match their words. I'm like, wagwan and shit. I don't actually even mean these words. I don't even know what they mean.
Swings and roundabouts.
Swings and roundabouts. I'm just trying to be like the cool hip kids, bro. Downloading TikTok.
You're not. It's not working, dude.
I just gotta accept the fact that I'm growing older, bro.
Dude, I'm gonna be so fucking old. 20?
Yeah.
What am I gonna do?
Finally hitting the double digits.
Dude, I can't be 20 and playing League. You know?
No, but 21 is when it gets good.
Why?
Because then you're doing savage shit.
You are?
21 savage.
Nah, he's still alive.
But you know what? Something? I think we were born in the wrong year. Like, we were 1 year off of being born in the year 2000. Because now Patrick, think of it. When it's going to be 2069, he's going to be 69 years old.
I don't really care, bro.
We're going to be 68 on 2069. That's going to suck so bad.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how I'll live for myself.
Bro, if Patrick somehow managed to live 420 years...
Another 100 to go.
420. On 2,420, he's going to be 420 years old.
I mean, how many years has he lived already? Like 200? So, surely he can make it, you know?
He could. He definitely can.
Dude, I'm not going to turn 20. Please, dude.
Huh?
Tell me I'm not going to be 20. How does he feel, dude? Are you old?
Bro, I can't get up in the morning anymore.
Yeah?
It's like my back hurts. It's like I'm going to fucking die soon, man.
Do you have headaches and shit? Do you get grumpy in the afternoon?
I started taking naps, bro.
You did?
I started taking afternoon
I already
naps.
take naps. Imagine when I hit 20, dude.
Yeah, but you're also like so much older. We've been saying this, bro. It's like I want my friend back, but nah. Whenever I'm like, yo, want to hang out? It's like, nah, bro. I'm busy reading the news, man.
I've never said that, bro. I never read the news around you, bro. I don't want to.
I'm like, hey, bro, what you up to right now? I'm like, I'm just looking at the conflict in Al Qaeda right now. And,
Al Qaeda. I'm looking at the internal political struggles of Al Qaeda.
Yeah, and like how America and the indigenous people that used to live there are no longer one with each other. Nah, but what would you rate the song? The Eminem
song? We're
song.
still doing that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this
it never ends.
I want to know. I was gonna say shout out Kelvin, you piece of shit, who thought that I all of a sudden just pulled up this whole Palestine thing. It's like, bro, I've been literally talking about this since I was 10. I remembered it. No, okay, the song Eminem.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
No, not the song Eminem. It's called Infinite.
Infinite by Eminem. 10 out of 10. For sure. 10 out. It's perfect.
8.
How would you make it better, bro?
8.5.
How would you make it better?
It's just not my type of music. I wouldn't listen to that. I mean, I would. That's why I give it an 8.5. 8.5 is really good, bro.
Yeah, but I see it as a 10. It's a masterpiece to me, dude.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Imagine in the year 2000, you listen to that song.
Okay, in the year 2000, it would have been like a bob, bro. It's like non-stop, always like playing in your ears.
There wasn't good music back then, you know. I just pissed off a lot of people.
There's so many people that are gonna be pissed off.
All our 10 fans are gonna get angry. We're regressing. Have you noticed,
bro? If I send this to my friend's gonna get pissed off.
Why?
He's older considerably. He's like
60,
at least,
right?
And he enjoys that music.
Prince Philip.
No.
What's your song, bro?
My song is actually an Italian song that I bring this week, and it's a song that I just pulled out of my ass. I'm gonna be honest. There's no reason why I pulled it out. I just said this was my music of the week. I'm just like, I went with my screenshots because that's something I do. It's like in my Spotify. If there's ever a song that comes up and like it's really good, instead of favoriting it, I screenshot it because I know it's more special.
And
that
you
way.
Call me the boomer.
No, you have to screenshot it because it's more special that way.
How do you? What the fuck are you doing?
Because bro, you can like thousands of songs and you're never gonna go back to them. But if
if I like it, I add it to my playlist.
No, bro, I don't make playlists. I just listen to random playlists, so I continue discovering new songs.
No, I can't do that, dude. Because I need to listen to good music, or I'm not listening.
And then I go back to playlists that I already played before, from whatever.
No, because most playlists have like at least half the music is bad,
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Nah.
I want good music, or I don't want to listen to it.
But also, that's the thing. You have to go through bad music to find what you like.
Yeah, I know. That's why I don't find much music. I just wait for you and Kelvin to find it. You know? I find some on my own as well, but not too much.
All right, but this song, right? It's called Altrove.
Yeah.
And what that means, it means elsewhere in English.
Where's he from, dude?
I have no clue. I didn't research him at all. Like this guy that sang Altrove. It's you can find 2 songs. One's by Morgan, and that's not the one. It's by Eugenio di Via di Gioia. Eugenio in Via di Gioia.
Yeah, but Eugene is a fuck name, dude. Eugenio.
I don't know. I like his name. Eugenio in Via di Gioia. That's a pretty sick name, bro. But he's basically in a way, in this song, he's reminiscing about his older times, and like he's kind of looking at the now times, when he's older, and he's like he can't get away with people, and he just would like to do that from the main things, like just drift away a little bit in his own thoughts.
Okay,
it's kind of nice. It's like takes you to a different place. I'd say a little bit in a different mindset almost.
Right.
It's like if you just have your headphones on and you're just walking down the road and it's a bit windy, or it's a bit like, I don't know, it could even be sunny. It doesn't matter. It just like teleports you instantly to like a different world almost.
I don't understand the weather argument, bro. What are you saying, that if it's not sunny or windy, I can't listen to the song?
Bro, the weather actually affects music as well. Like how you're feeling, your mood as well.
No, my mood affects it 100%.
Yeah.
But
the
weather,
vibe
not so much.
The vibe of the song, it also like is affected by what music you're listening to at that time.
Sure.
If you think about it a little bit, or at least for me.
So what people should do is check out our playlist, Music of the Week.
100%.
So you guys can get good music. Yeah. And I'll be putting a lot more Eminem on there,
I hope not. I really hope not. Because if you start putting more Eminem, I might just have to quit, bro, just because of this playlist.
I might put one more Eminem song.
Fuck.
And I'm going to sprinkle them in.
All right.
But it's going to be only the elite songs, such as Infinite.
I'm just letting you know, whenever you bring out that Eminem, I'm bringing out Mahmoud.
I'm just letting you know, if you bring out Mahmoud, it's over, dude. It's over.
Mahmoud's actually really fucking
I'm
good,
gonna
bro.
put you in a container.
Bro,
I'm gonna ship
actually-
you. You know where you're gonna go?
Where?
Gaza.
Really? Yeah.
No one's gonna let you out because you look Palestinian,
Bro. No, but I will not back this Mahmoud beef. Mahmoud is super fucking good, bro.
Yeah,
He's really fucking good.
I haven't heard it.
You haven't given him a chance, bro.
I haven't. No, I have,
No, you haven't.
but I haven't heard his good music.
The only song you've heard is Solidly because of Eurovision, and you're like, nah.
He was. Oh, I keep forgetting he was in Eurovision, dude. Eurovision is horrible, man. Hey, yo, isn't Eurovision going on right now?
Yeah. Israel's in it.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
By the way, dude, we're like, no, we're not biased, and also Israel is like in our Eurovision and also the European Football Cup. You know,
Yeah.
kind of weird.
But here's the point. Like, okay, going back to... Okay, no, never mind. Let's not go back to Palestine and Israel,
no.
bro. Let's not go back to that.
No.
My song, 8 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
9?
Yeah,
You gave it a 9.
I really liked it, dude.
Shit, okay.
Well, fuck it, fine, 7, dude. Fuck you.
Well, fuck you. Okay, I'm giving it a 10.
No, I'm gonna give it 9.
All right, I'll give it an 8.
I
that's what I
like
actually
these
did.
chill songs, dude.
Yeah.
The words I said on WhatsApp were not a reflection of my character. I was having a bad day.
Lucky for you, I will not be leaking these DMs
You will.
in question.
Thank you, bro. I'm very thankful. Dude.
But you should also look at the music video. It's also pretty chill.
I don't know if I did. No, I saw it on Spotify.
Yeah, you probably... I sent it to you on Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's actually a good song.
Yeah.
I'd be happy
I
to
would
add it to the
recommend-
collection.
Yeah, I would recommend checking it out as well.
Also, I've been liking Italian music lately, you know?
Bro, I'm telling you, I just got on like my Thai music flow right now. I don't know what it is. I'm just listening to like all Thai music right now.
Keep recommending, bro.
Yeah?
Yeah, why not?
All right, what if I just keep bringing you Thai music from now on?
And I'll just keep bringing Eminem from now on.
And then I just quit next week.
No, come on.
Huh?
Otherwise, I'm going to have to talk about Israel-Palestine every week. I need something else, man.
All right, I'll bring the Thai music and you bring the Eminem and I'll keep bringing my Eminem hate.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
All right.
Yo, anything else you want to say to the people, bro?
Daily Kelvin shout out. Shout out if you made it.
Shout out, fuck it, shout out my mom.
Shout out Palestine.
Shout out, yeah, Palestine. And shout out the people, all the humanitarian organizations there.
Yeah. Anti shout out Israel. Ish.
Shout out to Jewish Voice for Peace.
Right.
They're a Jewish organization who have understood what's going on and are trying to change it. And I think I've seen a lot more Jewish people now than ever condemn Israel and be like pro two-state solution. Actually, you know.
Yeah.
So I really hope that that they I don't know, go check them out or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're on Instagram. Go follow them.
I'll link them down below.
Nah, fuck you, dude. You search it yourself, dude. The fucking monkeys out there. Jewish Voice for Peace, dude. Search it on Instagram.
You can't even just link them in the...
Do you know how many links there are in the fucking description, dude?
Yeah.
Yo, Nips, please don't fire me.
Yeah.
But what are we now, episode 6?
I think so.
I haven't added a single song to the playlist since like episode 2.
That's fine. That's something we can do in the end. Hey, bro, don't fire me. But since episode 1, I have not been promoting our podcast on the Instagram.
Fuck, dude. If I don't fire you, will you not fire me?
Sure. Let's say that.
Deal.
Let's say that.
Hey, business, dude.
But I will be posting an Instagram post hopefully today.
Yeah, let's go, dude.
Yeah.
We need to get a few more views up, you know.
Yeah.
And your Instagram polls, actually.
Huh?
Your Instagram polls a little bit.
Polls.
Yeah, views, polls.
Oh, polls.
Yeah, polls.
Don't rig the polls.
You rigged the fucking polls. Dude.
You rigged the fucking polls, bro.
Then how come I lost? The fuck?
Because you rigged it. Wait, no, that makes no sense.
That
How
makes
did you
no
rig it? Praticamente.
I like being the underdog, you know?
True.
Bro, I have so much homework to do tonight.
Bro, I'm just looking forward to the Tom post that I brought, bro.
I'm not gonna eat it, dude.
No?
Dude, I've been trying not to fall asleep this whole podcast because I ate right
bro,
before.
you have to eat at least one, bro.
Like, I'll try one, dude. I'll try.
All right.
I'm also not a big cream fan, you know?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Now we're just...
Should we end this podcast?
Yeah, now we're just dragging it on. I was about to say...
Shout out to Kelvin. Shout out to Kelvin.
Yeah,
shout out to Kelvin.
don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment.
And come by every week, bro.
Of
I
course.
Swear. Dude, the homies supporting is still very important, man. I love you guys.
And we hope you actually learned something this week, you know.
Yeah, dude,
it was a very informative podcast.
My heart and soul into this. And if you want to talk about it outside the podcast, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, and if you want to subscribe to my OnlyFans, also link down below.
And if you just want to send me free money to my Bitcoin wallet or my PayPal wallet, link down below.
Shiba Inu coin to the moon.
Dude, I lost so much money this week.
we hope it comes back. Bye-bye.
No, it will.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Goodbye, guys.
Ciao.
Mwah.
No.
Standing on the shore, looking into the horizon. One by one, the waves whisper help, we're dying. Witnesses will not find the peace among the clueless. Listening to Bowie sing, the word is not something you can change.